Welcome to Let's Talk Jets Radio.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Let's Talk Jets with probably easily the most, person that everybody want to talk to the most here, the most guest requested easily in the last 3 months. Ian from JetsCentral. What is up, my friend?
Dude, Tyson, bro, I'm pumped to be here, and I really appreciate you reaching out and having me on the show, man.
Dude, I have to. I mean, I'm not kidding you, dude. Every time we do any kind of collaboration, like you got to get Ian on. And obviously, you're a very, very popular YouTuber. So the first question I have for you is, what got you into this, man? What became a fan of the Jets and got you involved on YouTube?
Yeah, so I grew up in Florida, and we didn't really have I was never really big into like sports radio or anything like that. Like growing up, it was always just me, my dad, and my brother, just the only Jets fans I ever knew. And so I lived kind of like in the heart of Dolphins territory, and I never really wanted to. So I love football from a young age. I never really wanted to gravitate towards like the home crowd team, which was Miami. I always just thought they were like super lame, to be honest with you. Like their uniforms, their logo, just never liked them. And my dad was just a huge like diehard Jet fan. So I'm like, you know what better team than the Jets? And this was, I don't know, when I was like, before I could walk, I knew like the Jets were the good guys, like from when I was a baby. And then just kind of growing up, it stuck with me. In school, my buddies were all Dolphins fans, but mostly college, and graduated or I was in college at the time, and I'm like, nobody talks Jets like mainstream TV stuff. It's just like they'd skip right over us. It's butt fumble this, butt fumble that, and I'm like, man, I know there's other Jets fans out there. Like there has to be. So I decided to hop on YouTube, and here I am.
Yeah, man, that's pretty awesome. Now, what do you like most about it, man? You have a huge platform.
What do I like most about the Jets or YouTube?
The YouTube channel.
Connecting with other fans, 100%. Bumping into people like outside, like again, like down in Florida, like I'll see somebody at like the gym or like out to eat, and they're like, "Hey, do you have like a Jets YouTube channel?" And that like it's the best feeling in the world, Or like when I go to games, because like I've only been to MetLife Stadium a handful of times, and everything was post YouTube, so. I would go and like people would like yell out like, "Hey, that's JetsCentral" or something like that. And that's just like, holy crap, like that's awesome. I'd go out and hang out for 45 minutes, follow everybody on social media. And I'm still, talking to people, today, it's cool how everybody could kind of come together. And, I spent the first, 20 something years of my life only knowing two other Jet fans. So it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, no, I think the Jets fans, what people don't realize is the Jets have an enormous following, a very loyal following. And it's just like, and they're all over the world. Like it's just all over the country, all over the world. And it's like, the cool thing about YouTube is you get to talk to all of them, man. England, Ireland, I'm sure you do it too, man. It's wild to see the reach of the team, especially when they haven't had much success. So, they're all diehard fans.
Yeah, that's what's absolutely crazy. Like, of course, you got teams like Kansas City, Pittsburgh, Dallas, New England, just big fan bases and everything like that. But it's like the Jets are finishing like bottom. I hate to say it, but like bottom 5, bottom 10 almost every year. And I feel like the fans are it's nonstop. So it's awesome. That's definitely my favorite thing, just connecting with other fans.
Yeah, so as we're talking Jets, obviously it's draft week, and there's so much speculation, so much rumors, smoke screens and everything else. And I guess, what would you consider, Jets have 2 picks in the top 10. At number 4, what would you consider to be the position of need right there?
Man, I mean, I honestly, I know it might be a little cliche, but I feel like the Jets could go in a bunch of different directions here. Okay. But I think if I had to say my number 1 team need at spot number 4, I got to go edge. Like just looking at the importance of the team, how thin it is right now. Like Carl Lawson's coming back. That's awesome. Like I'm pumped, but it's like he didn't miss the entire season. Will he get hurt again? Will he look like the same player? I feel like there's, some question marks there. So I think for me, it's got to be edge. But by no means am I saying if we go corner, if we go O-line or something, I'm going to be like pissed on draft night.
Now, when you look at edge, I agree, man. I'm all about pass rusher and wide receiver later on in the draft. It's like 2 huge needs in my little world. But when you look at that pass rusher, who are some of the guys you like? Because it seems like this is not a draft where there's like a one hot name that everybody says this is the consensus best pass rusher in the draft. everybody has their flavor. You know what I mean? Some people like Hutchinson, somebody like Thibodeau, some people like Walker. Who do you like in this draft in the top like 4 picks?
Yeah, dude, you're so right. I think for me, I like them all outside of I like Trevon Walker. I do. Just not really for the Jets, just based off of scheme and everything like that. I feel like he would be better suited for a team like Detroit or Jacksonville if we're talking top 5 here. But I'm honestly cool with everybody. Johnson, Thibodeau, if Hutchinson falls, that'd be great. But Walker's the only one I'm a little skeptical on, just because of the production in college. And I get that he dominated the combine and everything like that, and that's great. But for me, I think my top 2, Johnson and Kayvon.
Yeah. And that's the weird thing. Like Kayvon's a player that it's just like the reports on him are all over the world, man. It's like some people are saying he's a colossal bust, and he's like a diamond in the rough, and he could be the best player in the draft. It's like, it's so weird that how this just happens like over the last like month and a half. And it's like, oh, listen, the Jets can get him at 4. I'm done. Like, take him. I'm good with it. We all move on. But it's just so weird how all this is built around him right now.
Yeah. So you're in with KT. You like him.
Yep.
Okay, cool. And I think a thing that helps too is like, you were talking about it before, like you have so much negative press, you have so much positive press, and it's like, how could it be? Like how could a guy be so, polarizing?
Yeah.
I think it's cool to just go back and just like rewatch him, like just put your phone away and you're watching him, and it's like, what do you think about him? And when I do that, it's like, this guy's a really, really good football player, and I would love him for the Jets.
Yeah, and I think it's also having faith in Coach Saleh too, where it's like he's a player's coach, he's a motivator, he's an inspiring guy. I think he's like a hands-on guy. I think the whatever potential rap there is about him, I think Saleh can get through him. Maybe that's my own blind faith. I have no idea, but that's kind of where I'm at with him. And then it's like you talked about corner before, and it's a lot of people are saying, you know what, the top 3 rushers could be off the board, and the Jets could go Sauce Gardner at 4. What do you think about that?
I wouldn't mind it. I really wouldn't. I would prefer edge, just because, I'm looking at the cornerback room. I feel great about DJ Reed. He personally was my favorite free agent acquisition. And then Bryce Hall, Michael Carter, like, I'm cool with them. Like, I don't think they're horrible players. I don't think, the cornerback room is like an abomination to the NFL by no means. But Gardner does definitely give the Jets that extra edge on defense. But I've never really been the biggest fan of taking like a corner top 5, like that's, Jets or any team out there.
Yeah.
But I got to be honest, like, you look at Gardner as a prospect, I feel like he would come in, there would be so much hype there, with like all the swag and everything like that, in the style of defense, all of the defensive guy, him, DJ Reed, and then having, Bryce Hall and like coming off the bench essentially. And, so we finally have some depth at a position. And then Michael Carter in the slot, like I would feel like our cornerback room is solid if Gardner was the pick.
Yeah, I just think it's kind of like, I kind of agree with you. I think we're solid, and Douglas probably put more focus on the defensive line, the pass rush, everything else. And the secondary is kind of secondary, where it's like, all right, you know what? It's Gardner's a great player, but for some reason, I don't think it's gonna be a pick though. I think they're gonna look elsewhere. Now, an interesting player keeps coming up is Aquanu, where it's like, all right, there could be the 3 pass rushers are off there, and in theory, if you go best player available on some boards, he could be the guy. But you say, you know what? The Jets already have 2 tackles. What do you think about Aquanu being picked there?
Yeah, I would actually love to hear your take on it too. So, like, all my buddies like would hate the pick. It's like, Becton's coming back to what, 11th overall pick just a couple years ago. George Fant playing great football. We don't necessarily like need that extra tackle, but I got to be honest, like I think for me, like I'm not looking at 2022 and saying like, this is it, like this is our year. Like I feel like if we draft Ike Ekwonu, he would be the best tackle on the team, like immediately. And it's more of a long play. So if Becton is hurt, if he doesn't look like the same player, if George Fant like doesn't re-sign after the season, Ekwonu, all of it, like we have 3 potential cornerstone guys, but we know with Ekem, he's going to be cheap and he's probably going to be the best out of the bunch. So and another point, we have the multiple picks. So it's not like the end of the world. It's not like Jacksonville at 1, where it's like, great, we're taking a player here, but now we can't address any other need for 30 something picks. Like we could come back at 10 and go, go after whoever we want, or 34 or 35. And, with our multiple seconds. So I honestly wouldn't mind it.
Oh man, this is where this won't probably give me a problem, because it's just like,
Yeah.
to me, you have like an abundance of riches, and it's like, I understand what you're saying completely, man. He'd probably be your best tackle, and it's the long play. You know what? if Fant doesn't work out or Becton doesn't work out, you have your guy, you move along. But it's just like, to me, it's like, I want to have faith in Becton. If you like Fant enough, you resign him, get a couple more years of his contract. You have your two guys. Then who you drafted for can play this year. Like my goal is for the first 4 picks, unless they trade him, is to be 4 starters. So if you get a Quano there, he's probably not going to be a starter unless you figure out how you want to trade or do something. So I'm not going to lie to you. Initially, it probably annoyed me because I'm like, all right, what are we doing? Because now we have kind of like it could be a controversy because you have the whole Becton thing, but it's like, I want guys that could play like tomorrow. And that may not be the case for him. So it's, I don't know. Like, but what is your opinion on Becton now? Because to me, I personally think he's going to come back like a man on a mission. I think that he got a huge dose of reality in the offseason. Even last year with fans questioning him, his character, his work ethic, the team at times seemed like they kind of questioned him as well. I think he's going to come back ridiculously motivated, trying to prove everybody wrong, which could really benefit the Jets. What do you think about him, and which spot do you think he's going to play, left or right tackle?
Yeah, so real quick before I dive into that, can I pose a hypothetical question to you?
Okay.
So say we pass on Ekwonu, right? He's on the board,
Right.
we pass. And Becton is still not 100% ready to go by the time the season comes up, or maybe he gets hurt again. I know this is just completely just out of left, like anything could happen, but would you be kicking yourself then if you pass? Or is it like, you know what, I still feel like we made the right move?
It's a great question. And this is a question we get posed a lot. And it's like, assuming worst case scenario. And my thing within the Jets, I think Joe Douglas would have failed not getting enough depth behind him, man, because George Fant would be set at left tackle, then be like, all right, where's, Morgan Moses, you have other guys out there. You didn't bring the guy back in there. So it's like, I get your point though, dude. Completely get it. I'm just kind of having more faith and hoping to build on it. And then it's just, I don't know.
Yeah, no, dude, like it's a great point because at the end of the day, it does fall on Joe Douglas to like bolster the room, and it's not like this is his first year, and it's not like he didn't have resources. So, dude, I get it. But no, like I love Becton. I really do. Like it kind of sucks because it's like the last time we really saw like Becton play, he was dominant, and it's just like we got the taste, and now all of a sudden he was pulled away, and all we've pretty much seen are like workout videos and him on Twitter and everything like that. I'm expecting Becton to come back ready to go. We've seen what he can do. Whether it was his rookie year back at Louisville, like the guy can play. Like he's a great football player. I think the frustrating part for me was like last year during the regular season when like Saleh would be asked about it and he would just have no update. And there was never any like detail or clarity. And that was, it bothered me a little bit. Like I felt like it was almost like every maybe couple weeks it would come up and it's just like, oh yeah, we have no idea essentially. So, from that aspect, it was definitely annoying, but we have a whole off season. So I'm hoping he bounces back. I'm a big fan.
Yeah, I think the Jets did him no favors last year by the way they handled it. I mean, initially when we saw it, we were actually at the game. He actually got hurt right in front of us. So
really? In Carolina?
We went and
That's
we
cool.
saw him get carted off. And I was like, dude, he's out for the year. I'm like, there's no way he's coming. He was like, dude, he's literally in tears. So the Jets say whatever they say, 4 to 6 weeks or 6 to 8 weeks. And I'm like, man, that seems really, really aggressive considering, the size of him and how serious it looked. And then they kept stringing it along. And what happened was nobody really criticized the Jets. They're criticizing the player. He's not doing his part to get back. He's not doing this. And they didn't really silence anybody. They kept saying, oh, in another week, we don't know. Like, I don't like the way they handled it whatsoever. Now, he could have been his fault. Maybe he didn't do the right thing. I have no idea. But their communication skills, they could have said, you know what? He's out 10 to 12 weeks. That silences everybody for 3 months. We don't say a word for 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
But if you tell us 4 to 6 weeks, I guess what? 5 weeks in, we're asking questions about it. You know what I mean? So I think, I don't know. Sometimes I'm skeptical of how they handle injuries. And this goes back, for the last 4 or 5 years with the Jets. But whatever. It's just my little rant for you.
No, I feel like the Jets have always been hit. Specifically though, like the last couple years, man, like we've been hit like hard with the injury bug. Like Davis was out for the year, LaMarcus Joyner, Lawson. And like I just remember, going back to years prior, like Darnold never even finished a full season. Like he was always missing time. I don't know what it is. Like, are you like, do you believe in the whole turf thing that's happening? You do think that's a part?
I mean, it's got to be something because you figure, they brought in like a state-of-the-art, they have a state-of-the-art facility. They have a sports science team, a sports nutrition team. They have every aspect of things covered and their players are dropping like flies. So it's got to be something. I mean, their facility, it's all grass. Maybe it's MetLife. I don't know. It's got to be something, man. Or it's just ridiculously bad luck, which with the Jets, that could very well be the case. You know what I mean? But
very, very true.
So as you look at pick 4, I think it could be a variety of positions, but I think at 10, most fans right now, for ones we talked to at least, are saying, you know what, this is the spot to get wide receiver. Is that kind of what you're thinking as well?
At spot number 10?
Yeah.
I think I am. Yeah, I definitely think I am. Well, of course, like we have the whole the Deebo, is he going to be
Yep.
moved, all that stuff. But just assuming he stays or assuming he gets moved elsewhere, man, I gotta. It would take a lot for me to pass on a wide receiver at spot number 10. I really like Garrett Wilson. I like Jameson Williams a lot. Um, London, I get it. Like
Yeah.
I think he would come in and definitely benefit the team. But I'm a big fan of Chris Olave too. I know 10 is going to be really high for him, but if the Jets find themselves maybe trading back or something, I think Olave would be awesome in green.
Now, Jameson Williams is intriguing because most people think that he was the best receiver prior to the injury, and it wasn't really even that close. Like, he was the guy. He gets hurt now, but now you're watching his recovery videos, and he looked like, dude, he looked like he probably could be ready by what, September, October. Is that enough for you to say, you know what, I want to take a chance on this kid at 10, or the Jets not in a position to do that because you know what, we need a guy that we know can play week 1.
I don't know. I think really the big question here, like regarding that, is how much of a jump or how much of a how much
Drop
better is
off.
Jameson
Yeah.
Williams than your second best guy?
Yep.
If the jump is significant, then I think you got to take him because it's like again the Jets. I don't feel like are going to be making like a deep playoff push this season,
Yep.
and it is about 2023 and 22. Like it's the rebuild, and if it really only comes down to missing a training camp and a handful of games like half the season or something like that, then to land one of these top tier like a true number one
Yeah.
guy, then I do think it's worth it. But for me, I think Wilson is like I would rather take Garrett Wilson over Jameson Williams. But I really like both guys. I really do. I wouldn't be mad if the Jets wound up with Jameson.
Yeah, not at all. And then, so the other thing too is there's been not. I'll tell you this now. I'm a Notre Dame fan, but
Okay.
I'm by no means biased here. Do you see any scenario where the Jets consider Kyle Hamilton if he's still available at 10?
So, dude, it's funny you say that because like I know I might get some heat for it, but Kyle Hamilton's like my favorite player in the draft. Like he's an animal, dude.
This is
Like
why
I don't
we're
know
best
where you
friends,
stand
man.
on him. Yeah, right. I mean, like size, speed, defensive IQ, helps in the running game. The guy just flies around the field, and I feel like he's been getting like just tons of crap like
Yeah.
throughout the course of this offseason. Like, oh, he's a safety, like not important. Let's just go after whoever, Brisker, Daxon Hill,
Yeah.
whoever it may be. It's like, I don't know, man. Kyle Hamilton is a stud. And I know I might be, well, I guess we would be in the
Yep.
minority, but like if he's the pick at 10 or something, like I'm not complaining.
Yeah. I mean, there's a scenario where people say, you take him at 10 because there's a lot of depth at wide receiver, and you can still get a decent wide receiver in the second round or even trade back up to get one based on how you handle it. But the other situation is, wide receiver, and the name right now everybody's talking about is Deebo Samuel, who you mentioned before. And listen, all pro player, young, hitting the peak of his career. The Jets can afford him in terms of cap space. They can afford him in terms of draft picks. What are your thoughts on trade for Deebo Samuel?
It's tough. I think honestly, I would probably hang on to well, it depends what the Niners want first and
Right.
foremost. I think if San Francisco's cool, like taking maybe a couple mid-round picks, then I'm fine with it, like 100%, because then it opens up the door at 10. We can go get
Yeah.
Hamilton, we could go get a corner, whoever we want.
Yep.
But I think if it's like, because I've seen like, the mock trade scenarios and stuff like that, maybe I'm like just seeing a bunch of 49er ones, but it's like, 10 and 38 or 10 and, our third round pick. And for me, I think that's a little high. Where do you stand on Deebo? Like, do you feel okay giving up those picks?
To me, I would do the Tyreek Hill package, no problem. I'd give up both second round picks. Cool, take them. Or I would do the number 10 pick by itself. I'd do that because,
You would. Okay.
yeah, I would. But just that, though. That would be it. Number 10 pick. That's it. And I move on. Just because I want the known. Like, in like right now, we just talked about it. I would go pass rusher at 4, receiver at 10. Well, that receiver at 10 would be either, say, Garrett Wilson or Deebo Samuel. I'll take Deebo Samuel there. You know what I mean? So it's like, that's the kind of way I look at it. But I respect what you're saying too, man. It's like, it's just how much faith do you have in this draft class that you can get somebody that can come in and be a significant contributor?
Definitely. Yeah, no, I agree. I think one thing that like kind of plays into effect for me at least is like if we get a wide receiver at 10, he's probably not going to be Deebo Samuel. Like I completely agree with you there. At least maybe immediately.
Yep.
But he would be on the cheap contract for 4
Yep.
years and then
True.
have the 5th-year option. What's your annual like price point for Deebo? Like where you feel comfortable paying him, and then when it starts getting like too crazy.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. That's where if you're trading for him, you're kind of in his hands. He's gonna say, you know what, I'll come to New York, but I want $25 million a year.
Mhm.
Pay me or I'm not coming. Same thing with Tyreek. And I think the problem the Jets are gonna have is everybody knows they're willing to make Tyreek Hill one of the highest paid receivers in football. So you can't have that story be out there and then tell Deebo, we're not gonna do that for you though. We're gonna go a little bit less for you. He's like, I'm not coming. I'm not gonna sign it. So I think the Jets in that standpoint, if you gotta go big and you have to spend the money. And it's unfortunate, but the only good thing is that Zach Wilson's still on his rookie contract, and there's really nobody else to pay. Maybe Quinnen Williams next year if he comes out big this year, but like the Jets have a lot of salary cap, space to do it. It's not ideal, and I get it. Listen, if you say, you know what, I don't want to pay Deebo Samuel $28 million a year or $26 million a year, completely respect that. But to me, I just want game-breaking, legitimate talent. I know it's already proven. Like waiting possibly a year for Jameson Williams to do that or 2 years. I want to have Zach Wilson in a spot this year to take off and just get after it. So the contract is a concern, though. I can completely, especially if you have like any kind of injury concern with him.
Yeah. So do you think, like, does it bother you that we don't really know why Deebo Samuel like wants to leave?
Yep.
Is that like,
That's the concern, because now you have, and this is the worst part of it, is like the 49ers are going to leak stories on their own. The agent's going to leak stories, and you have clickbait, you have bloggers making up stuff and whatever else. We don't know, but the luxury of him is that he's so good at so many different things. He's the running back. He's a receiver. He's a hybrid. He can do all these things. If he says, you know what, I don't want to run the ball anymore, that's really true. All right, he's still a very good receiver, but you're bringing him in for the versatility, all the things he brings to the table. So that's the one interesting thing. Is it because he wants to be on the East Coast? I mean, I don't know, but there was one interesting interview where Trey Lance, I guess, is in California, and they're like, "Are you going to work out with him?" He's like, "No, I'm in Florida." And like, as Trey Lance wasn't going down there, and he wasn't going out to California, so I'm like, "All right, that's kind of interesting." Where it's like, so he's a fascinating player. Would you consider other players like AJ Brown or DK Metcalf instead?
Yeah, I definitely would. I think for me, DK Metcalf is like the like if I had to make a move on a guy, DK was probably going to be the dude. And it's not I'm not saying DK is better than everybody else. I just feel like just as a pure wide receiver, DK has the highest upside. And I mean, the guy is just physically just out of this world. And I think he also provides like a deep threat. And I feel I'm looking at the roster now and it's like, do we really have a guy that, has the 4-2, 4-3, just can fly, beat safety or, beat corners off the line of scrimmage and pretty much just win every time. And then, you take that and you match it with Zach Wilson's arm strength. It's like, I don't know. I really like that potential pairing, but and like another thing too, it's like with DK Metcalf, it's not like he's pounding on the table, like requesting a trade, like get me out of here. He's not doing like a Jamal Adams thing. He's not doing like a Deebo thing. With Samuel though, it's in like, and you referenced that video. I haven't seen, like, I didn't even know about that, which is interesting. So maybe it is like a California thing, but it's like, I don't want to give away a huge, king's ransom for Deebo. And he comes in, he's like, okay, well, I'm basically just going to have to how I'm going to be used in the offense, and I want top dollar, and I'm leaving San Francisco. We've made it to the Super Bowl. We've won a bunch of games. Now I'm going to, like a bottom team in the league record wise. And I'm helping start the rebuild. Will he pull this again, or will he want out in 2 years? Like, I don't know. Like, for me, there's a lot of question marks. Don't get me wrong. I would love Deebo Samuel, but to give up spot number 10 for me, at least, I think I would rather just go with the cheaper option and go snag another wideout that way.
No, that's fair enough. And another receiver everybody likes talking about is Elijah Moore, who came to the Jets with a crazy amount of expectations, got a little banged up, which was unfortunate, but he showed glimpses of what he can be. What are your expectations for him this year, man? Where it's year 2, where a lot of players are taking off, especially, full NFL offseason. You understand the offense. You have some kind of chemistry with your quarterback. What do you expect from Elijah?
I think a lot of that actually has to do with who we bring in at wide receiver. If we were to go get a DK or a Deebo, I think it would also open up doors for Elijah Moore in the pass game, short, intermediate, even in the deep parts. Cause like he did a pretty good job at, in that regard back at Ole Miss. But, I like Elijah Moore. He's a little smaller. Watching him with the Jets, he was a little smaller than I kind of pictured him back with the Rebels. But I mean, I love the guy. I mean, the route running is there, the speed, the quickness, and he has that chemistry with Wilson already. So he's kind of he's ahead of the curve a little bit. Davis is the one that I'm a little. Well, I don't even know how I would word it. I guess a little weary on. The
Yeah.
injury kind of bothered me. The drops kind of bother me. He's on a decent sized deal.
Yep.
But I mean, I love Barrios and Moore. I think if I had to pick one that I would rather move off of or something like that, it would probably be Corey Davis.
Oh, absolutely, man. His year last year was maddening with always slipping and falling, dropping passes, his demeanor sometimes. Then he got injured. And it's like you were hoping to be like he was a team captain, like the leader, and help all these young receivers. And kind of like he was a hindrance at points, which just drove everybody crazy.
Mhm.
Obviously, you can't talk Jets without the quarterback. And Zach Wilson, another player, came in with crazy expectations. We were hoping, the next Mahomes, the next Aaron Rodgers, all this stuff. And he had a very, very rocky start this season, man, where it was like I was at one point begging for him to be benched. I'm like, I thought he was just in over his head. He was swimming, and it was a negative him even playing. He comes back, ends the season on a really, really strong note. No turnovers, very good command of the offense. Like he was actually comfortable. But now I think the Jets, their success this year is contingent on him. How much will he step forward? How much will he improve? So what do you expect out of Zach this year?
It's tough, dude. And like I literally agree with everything that you just said. After that Texans game, he had some time on the bench and then he comes back for the Texans game, like a weak defense, weak overall team. They're not going to be putting up 35, 40 points. It's not going to be a shootout. And then to see that performance, like after that game, I like had a knot in my stomach. Like, man, like this is crazy. But no, I agree. Like to see him to end the season like that, like it was really, really encouraging. I think for year two, like it sucks because like the draft isn't here and I don't want to give the answer of like, oh, we just got to wait and see who we get.
Yeah.
But I think, man, if the Jets go land Deebo, if the Jets, bring in Jameson Williams, whoever, or, I guess a guy that's, would be playing from day one. So Garrett Wilson or London, like if we just continue to feed him, or put pieces around him, I think I think the production will only go up, but at the same time, so will the expectations, if that makes sense.
Yep.
So, I mean, he does have a lot of pressure. Like if he goes out there and is turning the ball over or is like throwing the screens and it's just like hitting the ground, we saw a lot of that last year. And, Garrett Wilson or whoever, maybe Deebo Samuel's like wide open. It's just like skipping past him. I think there might be a little bit like the panic, but like I might start hitting the panic button a little bit, but no, I think really what can you do at this point? If you're Joe Douglas, you just got to give them as much help as possible.
Yeah.
Offensive line, running game, wide receivers, help bolster up the defense. I mean, at the end of the day, like it was the worst defense in football. It doesn't help when a rookie quarterback has to go outscore everybody. So I'm expecting big things.
Yeah, I think it's paramount that he starts off strong, man. He cannot have a slow start to the season because this fan base, I think we all believe in him. We all want to root for him, but they start off slow on offense and they're struggling, they're sluggish. I mean, I think it's going to be a very, very difficult spot where he's going to have to overcome adversity again, which you want to just see positivity, man. Like you got him two good tight ends now, the improved running games, a lot of really good things about him, which make the game simpler for him. It should be a lot easier. Hopefully he takes advantage of it. And I hope the floor schemes for him where it's like, don't put all the pressure on him. Give him the easy throws, the easy reads, grow the offense, and as the season plays out, be a little more aggressive. So, speaking of the coaching staff, what were your thoughts on Coach Saleh for year one?
So I got to be honest, like I just not sugarcoating anything. I was expecting maybe a little bit more. Not necessarily like in the win column, because like I knew that the Jets were going to be like a bottom 10 team. I was thinking anywhere from 4 wins like we had, maybe up to 6, 7 best case scenario. But the one I think to see like 32 right next to the Jets defense was, after years and years of great defensive play and Rex Ryan and Todd Bowles and just the list goes on of all the great defenses that we had, to see like we were just being ripped apart pretty much on a week to week basis. That was disappointing. And then another thing that kind of bothered me was just I felt like Zach Wilson took like unnecessary hits. I felt like for like a solid stretch, like we had the Eagles players like not shake the Jets' hands at the coin toss. And I thought that was a little weird. And I don't know, at times, like I felt like he wasn't really the guy in San Francisco like early on in his career, but man, the last month and a half of the season, that really just changed, and like we saw how the Jets responded and everything like that. I'm excited for the future. I love the schemes. I love him in interviews and everything like that. I think he seems like a great dude and a smart defensive mind. And of course, we were injured and we had a ton of young players out there led by a rookie quarterback. And of course, it was Salah's first time doing it as well. It's never going to be perfect. But I love the hire. I was expecting a little bit more, but it's in the past, and I'm ready to move on, and I'm expecting big things.
Yeah, I agree with you. I was ridiculously disappointed for a while there. It was some of the worst defense we've ever seen. I mean, the run defense was atrocious, and you're like, how does this possible? And it's like he never would blame the scheme. It's like, no, it's not the scheme. I'm like, is it the players then? Because something's wrong here. Like they have too much talent to be this bad. Even with injuries, the defensive front had a lot of talent. Like they can't be this bad. So I'm like, you know what? I'll give him a year. We'll figure it out. Like they figured it out. He got better as the season went along. You saw more of his personality, saw more of his emotion. His time management got better. His game management improved a little bit. So I'm like, you know what? That was all like rookie coach kind of nerves. Like, all right, he's figuring out on the job with a lot of inexperience around him. They got it. But now to me, going into this offseason, going into this year, I expect more from him, man, and from the team. Like, I understand you're rebuilding, but you can't rebuild for 10 years. So you went from 4 wins. Is it fair, in your opinion, to expect 7, 8 wins this year?
Yeah, I think that's fair for sure. I mean, at the end of the day, like, yes, the team was young and they had the injuries, but we got guys coming back, and maybe guys get hurt again, who knows? But Joe Douglas has had, I mean, this is 2 off seasons where he has had a ton of cap space.
Yeah.
This is 2 off seasons where he's had 2 first round picks. And then, of course, this year with the 2 2s and the 2 4s and everything like that, we got, again, the guys coming back from injury like Lawson and Becton. I'm CJ Mosley coming off a career year, prove it kind of deal for Quinnen Williams. It's a big season for him. I think, and even some, awesome free agents coming in the building as well, like the tight ends and Lake and Tomlinson.
Yeah.
Like, I definitely think it's fair for 7, 8 wins. I think I'm hoping at least that's where the Jets kind of finish, because, once we get into that range, it's like, okay, we know who we are. We have our identity. We have the core. Now we just have to shape it a little bit, stack those, 2, 3 wins on top of this and try to make a playoff push. But the AFC is pretty tough. So I'm not sure. I think 7 wins is the goal. 7, 8 wins is the goal for me.
I completely agree. And the one player you mentioned, which I'm really fascinated about, is Quinnen Williams, who has a lot of expectations around him. From depending on what fan you are, some people say he's a Pro Bowl level dominant player that's double teamed too much and whatever else. Some people say he doesn't live up to expectations. He kind of hides sometimes. What do you think he is? Because to me, this is truly a make or break year for him. If he has a great year, he'll get the huge contract he wants. If he has a lackluster year, you may have to say, you know what? This isn't the guy we can give $20 million a year to.
Yeah, dude. I think you're totally right. I think really what it comes down to for me, it's like, I look at Quinnen, I think he's a good player. I think he's a really good player. Young, upside. He still has so much room to get better. But he was a 3rd overall pick. And whenever you're drafted that high, the expectations are going to be, extremely high. So it's like, yeah, you could be making good progress. You could be putting out good tape and, be a good player and everything like that. But, if you're not living up to being a top 5 or a top 3 pick, it's like, how good really is he and everything like that. So, I mean, I think I'm with you. I think this is a huge, huge year.
Yeah, absolutely, man. There's a couple players like that where it's like, it's a put up or shut up time. Like we like him as players, but to get that contract, especially now in the Jets, they have the cap space. Because you have it, you can't just throw it around aimlessly. You got to get the most value you can. And Quinnen's kind of on like the brink for me. Like, I'm not really sure. Like, you want to believe in him. You want to kind of buy into the hype. But then you're like, is he a dominant, destructive player that's a game-breaking talent? So if you're paying somebody $18 million a year, I want game breaker, man. I want to be a disruptive force, game on the line, 4th quarter, you make the play. And will he be that guy? That's what, remains to be seen, in my opinion.
Yeah, but what's crazy, it's like, it does remain to be seen, but it's like he has that potential. And that's why it's like so like, it's a little frustrating on game day. And with him being that 3rd overall pick, it's like, is he going to break out? When is he going to break out? You're thinking like Salah, defensive mind, like he's got a lot of, he got a lot out of his defensive lineman in San Fran. But no, I completely agree with you.
Yeah, no. So it's interesting. So before we wrap things up, are you going to give it an official draft prediction, or are you going to save that for your own show, man? Because everybody wants to know your prediction. So are you going to give a prediction for 4 and 10?
It's tough. I was actually going to drop a mock draft later this week. I've been having some camera problems, like we were talking about before.
Yeah.
That's why I haven't done it yet. But I think I think it's spot number. I mean, there's been so much smoke surrounding Sauce Gardner at pick number 4. I like
Yeah.
like I think within the last maybe day or two,
Yep.
like we've seen like Daniel Jeremiah, Chris Sims, Matt Miller, Mel Kiper, like
Yep.
Garofolo, like maybe a couple hours ago, like just
Yep.
linking Sauce Gardner to the Jets. It's tough. I think honestly though, the Jets will go edge. I'm leaning towards Jermaine Johnson, as crazy as that sounds, but at the a part of me is just like they're not going to pass on Kayvon Thibodeau. Like,
Yep.
if he's there, like I feel like edge has got to be the pick at 4, because it's like you were talking about it before with Kyle Hamilton. Like you could go get a safety, you could go get a wide receiver like later in the draft. What edge? Excuse me, what edge are you going to draft in rounds 3, rounds 4, pick up in like the waiver wire that's going to come in and be your Nick Bosa, your Myles Garrett, your TJ Watt? I feel like 4, that's the pick. That has to be the pick for edge if the Jets want to go that route, unless they're thinking KT's going to slide and you can go snag up a 10. But that's one big like rabbit hole. It's just crazy to kind of think about or like go down. But I think for me, it's spot number 4. I'm going to go edge. I'll leave it open. I'll go Thibodeau or Johnson. And at 10, I'll go Garrett Wilson.
There you go. So first of all, thank you for your time. But I mean, everybody knows who you are.
I appreciate, you having me on.
But everybody knows who you are. For those who might not know who you are, tell everybody how they can find you.
Yeah, so I run a YouTube channel called JetsCentral, pretty much talking same things as Tyson and his buddy Let's Talk Jets. Although he has the live streams, right? So if you want to do the live streams, the game day live streams, you got to check out his channel.
Well, I appreciate it, Mel. Thank you for your time, man. I definitely appreciate it. Hopefully after the draft we can do this again and we can see how wrong or right we were.
100%. I'm down.
Thanks a lot, man. Thanks for joining me.
Cool.